going on, everybody? Welcome to the Silver and Gold. We're starting a football podcast mainly regarding the San Francisco 49ers and the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm Josh.
And I'm Mike.
And before we get into anything about the current state of the Raiders and 49ers, we're going to talk about our background with football in general and why we're sort of getting into starting this podcast. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to take the floor and, just start off.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a lifelong Raider fan. I was born a Raider fan, but I didn't really get into the Raiders until I went to a game in 2009 against the Philadelphia Eagles in Oakland. And tight end for the Raiders named Zach Miller scores an 86-yard touchdown. And I was a sixth grader in middle school, and I was just like, yeah, I'm hooked, And, up until that point, I was a big baseball fan, but from that moment on, football was 100% it for me. And the Raiders were my team. Yeah. Well, what about your story as a Niner fan?
Yeah. So I kind of come from like a similar background in terms of like, I was really into baseball growing up. I played baseball ever since I was like 4 years old, probably even earlier,
Same.
Knowing my dad was like super into baseball.
Yeah.
And so my dad is a Giants fan, and he doesn't hate the A's. Like, he kind of likes both teams, but like, if you ask him like what his favorite team is, it's definitely the Giants. It's not even a question. But so since I had that baseball background growing up, I also I chose to be a Giants fan, and in around 2010, just before the 2010 season is when I really started to watch professional sports, and I started off with baseball. And so since I had already picked the San Francisco team to be my team, I figured, why don't I get into watching football? Because, I just figured, it's kind of time. All of my all of my classmates were like really into football and talking about it. And I really didn't know that much about the sport. And, I think the first game that I can recall watching was the NFC Championship game against the New York Giants. Jim Harbaugh was the coach. I think that was in 2011. But I remember just hearing stuff about the team before then, like when Mike Singletary was the head coach and they were awful. And then they turned over the team to Jim Harbaugh, and then they won a bunch of Super Bowls after that. And, they lived happily ever after.
Yep.
And but honestly, the Niners have just been like super interesting. I'm a huge fan. I follow the team. I practically watch like content and other content creators every day. And so we kind of just wanted to create our own show. I've known Mike since I was in elementary school. I think since I was in kindergarten, we used to take the same bus to school.
Yeah. Both live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, both Bay Area natives. And, we just we really sort of connect on a football level. We co-run a fantasy football league too. So we're all dialed in. I do want to also say that we're going to be giving a fan's perspective. So we're not like insiders in the team. I don't think anybody's expecting us to be, but we pay pretty close attention to like what's going on around the league. And so, with that being said, we're going to be able to give opinions on each other's teams, where it's not like we're going to know every single thing about, I'm not going to know everything about the Raiders. He's not going to know everything about the Niners. I probably know more since I pay more attention to the team. And I like to shit talk the Raiders a little bit, but I just want everybody to know that I respect the Raiders. They're a great historic organization. And ever since I've been alive, I've grown up with Raider fans, and they have sucked like every single year since I've been alive. And then not only did they suck, they said, you know what? We're moving to Vegas. So it's like,
I thought you meant the fans. I was like, ouch. But I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was a point in time where I could have chose. It was between the Raiders and the 49ers. And I said, you know what? I already like the San Francisco baseball team. I'm going to choose the 49ers. My dad was also a 49er fan.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't lie. I used the Raiders in NFL Street on the PS2. Like, I would play that with my stepbrother Ben growing up too. And so he was actually a Raider fan. And so whenever he and I would play each other, he would choose the Raiders and I would choose the NFL Legends. And like, you know, if you don't know about NFL Street, the NFL Legends is like stacked with talent. But I was a little bit younger than he was, so it was like a little bit. It was a way to even the playing field because the Raiders were also pretty good in that game too, which was probably the last time they were like really, really good, unless you count 2016.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say real quick. I mean, I think the reason why we decided to do this podcast is just because we talk so much football, just the two of us, just all the time. And like you mentioned, you know, our fantasy football league, like it's just nonstop, and it's nonstop shit talk. It's nonstop everything. But yeah, football is always on the mind. I mean, we are dead in the off season right now. It's the day of the schedule release, and here we are. What are we doing? We're talking football. So, you know, I think it came to a point where we just decided, why don't we just do a podcast and, you know, say our thoughts for others to hear, because they're, in our opinion, they're good thoughts. So
yeah, no, I mean, how many times have I told you, dude, didn't I say that before? And then it fucking happens. And I'm like, dude, I called it. And we just decided we need a platform so that way we can keep our receipts. And then whenever we say something stupid, one of you guys can hold us accountable, you know, and post it. But, you know, with all that being said, it's all love, it's all respect. And, you know, we're going to jump into our first topic. We're going to talk about the current state of the Raiders and the 49ers. Mike, do you want to kick this off?
Yeah, absolutely. Current state of the Raiders, we're in shambles. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, last year was an absolute a letdown, you know, a flop. The previous season, 2021, we somehow squeaked our way into the playoffs, and some fans might have felt that, you know, we deserved that. And I think at the time I was a little mixed, you know, like I remember, I'm not going to take too long on this, but I remember there was a game against the Cleveland Browns where it was 4 weeks before the playoffs, and Daniel Carlson is lining up a shot to kick the game winner. And I was sitting there hoping for us to lose because I was like, we're not making the playoffs. We need to win every game moving forward. It's not going to happen. Like, this is the Raiders.
Was that the Nick Mullins game? And was that during COVID?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, literally those next 4 weeks, besides the Charger game, you know, the crazy, if we both tied, we would have both gone to the playoffs game. Those 4 weeks leading up, we played a backup quarterback 3 out of those 4 games. And then we got that win against the Chargers. But I remember that Browns game, I was sitting there thinking, I hope he misses the kick, because I don't want us to get one game away from the playoffs, miss it, get a 15th overall pick in the draft, and get some middle tier guy, or probably like the Raiders usually do, or hopefully did, get a bust. You know, it was like, let's just get a high pick, blah, blah, blah. But they make the playoffs. It felt good. Derek Carr played really well towards the end of that season. And then we go and trade for Devontae Adams, and it's like, okay, it looks like we're doing something. We signed Chandler Jones. Hey, that's a pretty great defensive end. Pair him with Max Crosby. Everything else on the defense suspect. But and then last season happens. We get Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, and a lot of you know, second half meltdowns. Like the Arizona Cardinals game was horrible. The Jaguars game. I mean, 14-point leads that we just blow. You know. So some of that is probably coaching. Some of that is probably players still getting acclimated to the new systems, you know. But to summarize, last season was a letdown. And I'd say for this season, you know, we still have certain needs on the roster. And I'm not expecting playoffs. But I think crazier things have happened. I think that's kind of where I'm at for the Raiders right now. How are you feeling about the Niners?
Well, the way I'm feeling about the Niners is a way that I felt for a couple years in a row now. It's like we are in a position to where we're supposed to be a win now team, but we don't have our quarterback figured out. And so it's kind of frustrating as a fan right now because we've got, what I thought to be two really promising quarterbacks. Now everybody's trying to tell me that Sam Darnold's hella good for whatever reason.
Right.
I do think that, not moving on from Sam Darnold, I actually want to say something about it. I think that any competent quarterback can be good on the 49ers. They are that talented. And Sam Darnold has been in bad positions. He has had weapons like in Carolina. He had Christian McCaffrey and he had DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if they even still have the same head coach. So obviously there was a problem with that system, and they decided to move on from their head coach. But
Darnold,
I think that Darnold can find a little bit of a resurgence in his career in San Francisco. I think it's going to be as a backup. Some people are pretty adamant that he's just going to take the job and start running. I don't know if those people are actually like serious, or they're just like trying to add fuel to the fire.
Their thought process might be that crazier things have happened, especially last season with the Niners. I mean, who would have thought that Mr. Irrelevant becomes the next Tom Brady? Some people say, it's like crazy story. I think we'll get back to the Niners or what you're saying about the Niners, but I think with Sam Darnold, I mean, coming out into the draft, he was a upper echelon prospect that people were like, this guy can be the next really great quarterback. But something I didn't know is that he didn't actually have a very experienced time playing quarterback. Like, he didn't play a lot in high school, from what I understand. Maybe it was at USC. I'm not sure, but he was more raw than you would think for a top tier quarterback prospect. But the thing about Sam Darnold is he has a great arm. Is he accurate all the time? Probably not. Does he make the best decisions? Definitely not. But I think with a guy like Shanahan coaching him, crazy things have happened. So
now with Shanahan coaching him, he'll have a pretty good season, and then he'll probably get injured, just like everybody else. Because it's like, I don't think that. I think Shanahan, he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach yet. I think he's got to show that he can keep his quarterback healthy. And also he has room where he can grow when it comes to taking personal accountability and just sort of being a better leader in the clubhouse. Because at times I'm just like, man, it's looking a little bleak. Like, I think 2021, they started off 3-5, and then all of a sudden John York shows up to practice. And then I think that sent a clear message. It's like, hey, what the hell is going on over here? You spent 3 first-round picks and a third on, this Trey Lance kid, and you're not using them. And it looks like you guys aren't going to make the playoffs. Like, what's the deal?
Yep.
And so I don't think that the 49ers need to fire Kyle Shanahan. I do think that he does need to improve if they want to win a Super Bowl, because it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. They need to be protected. They had Trey Lance starting off the season last year, and he was used like Derrick Henry, and he was just running a lot between the tackles, when that's not really the smartest way to protect your investment. Yeah. And if he really needs to grow as a passer, then he needs to be passing the football. How's he going to grow as a passer running between the tackles?
Yep.
I remember before he got injured, I'm like, that's a great way to get your quarterback hurt. And then it happened. So
yep. QB draw, baby.
So, and then, which leads us to eventually Brock Purdy took over the team. And I really like Brock Purdy. He's one of my favorite 49ers. So is Trey Lance. Both of them are probably in my top 5 favorites, probably even top 3. I really like both of them. I like their personalities. If it were up to me, I think that you have to start Trey right now, because Trey's healthy. He's going to be practicing all offseason, and you don't know what you're going to get out of Brock Purdy's arm. And you don't know if this, I don't think the sample size is big enough to say whether he was the real deal or not. And so you're kind of just going to trot him out there with no offseason. You're going to trot him out there without really him passing, I would say, real tests, because every defense I think he faced wasn't that good last season. And this is coming from a Niner fan. I'm happy we're winning and everything, but when you want to talk about franchise quarterbacks, that's the only thing, that's the missing piece to the puzzle every single season. And well, at least since Shanahan's been a head coach. And it seems like ever since Steve Young, the 49ers have just been searching for the next guy. They haven't won a Super Bowl ever since Steve Young was a quarterback. And he was able to elevate, well, the team was already great and they had already won Super Bowls, but he won an MVP. Yeah. He was great.
Yeah.
So the 49ers have just been stuck in that searching mode. And I'm afraid that Shanahan's going to make a decision on Brock Purdy similar to the decision he made on Jimmy Garoppolo, where after 5 games, that's the franchise guy, because it's just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should rush him back. I think they should give Lance an opportunity to play while Brock takes his time getting back.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think there's no reason to rush Purdy back when he has a pretty serious throwing elbow injury. And like you said, the investment on Trey Lance, it's like you should trot him out there and see what he's got right now. I mean, year coming up, I want to say, I could be wrong, this upcoming offseason, so not this year, but a year from now, I think they'll have to make the decision on the 5th-year option. I might be wrong. I might be a year early, but, that's coming. You have to be able to make that decision. Like, do you really want to decline that? And then it's either he stays or he goes. It's like, you got to know what you have, like you said, with your investment. So,
yeah. Because if you would have told me that this kid wasn't going to play, I would just ask, why spend all that draft capital on him? Or if there was a chance. You don't spend draft capital on a draft pick. You know what I mean? Like that. Unless you know that he's going
he's
to
the guy.
Play. If you're gonna move up for a guy like that, you have to be committed to him. And the 49ers have just been in this situation where they have not committed to him at any step of the way.
Yeah.
So I hope that I hope Trey has an excellent season. I hope Brock's arm gets healed up pretty well. And honestly, Sam Darnold can stay on the roster too. I don't know what the market is for Sam Darnold if they were to put him on the practice squad. I'm sure somebody would probably sign him.
Yeah, especially once quarterbacks start going down. I will say this. I've noticed a trend with certain teams, and the Niners are one of them. And I would say the Philadelphia Eagles are another one, notably, where there's this wise thing going on in the NFL where certain teams are deciding we are in the quarterback development business. So the best example would be the Eagles had former number 2 overall pick Carson Wentz. And then 2 years later in the 2nd round, when they have no need for quarterback because Carson Wentz is coming off of a almost MVP season, they draft Jalen Hurts. And then now you look at the Eagles today and it's like, well, that was the wisest decision they made, right? And the thought process is, I don't know. I don't remember if they traded. I want to say they did trade Carson Wentz and they got like multiple thirds or something.
I think it was like a 2nd and a 3rd, or I think it might have been 2 thirds.
Yeah.
They traded him to the Colts.
I believe it was the Colts, yeah.
And then
the Colts traded him to the Commanders. Yeah. But the point of this quarterback, what did I call it? The quarterback development business, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that it's the most valuable position in the NFL, bar none.
Mm-hmm.
If you can develop quarterbacks, you can find your answer, whether it's, let's say in the Niners perspective, it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. But then once it comes time towards the end of their contracts, it's like, let's just trade one of them because we're not going to re-sign them to a mega deal. You get a bunch of picks and investments back to your team that you can use towards the rest of your roster. Like it's wise. It's just when you get it wrong, it's doubly bad. So if Trey Lance ends out being this guy that just fizzles out and never really gets playing time for the Niners, that looks horrible considering you guys spent 3 first-round picks on him. Like, it's hard to get that investment back if he just doesn't play.
And a third.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So we didn't have this as one of our topics, but you just got me sort of thinking. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, and this is completely hypothetical, I think Trey Lance is going to be, I think he's very talented. I think he's going to be good. I don't see him as a bust. If Brock Purdy wins this job and Trey Lance doesn't get a fair shot to start in the NFL, would you rank him above Jamarcus Russell or below Jamarcus Russell in terms of like monumental busts? And I wouldn't even think it's Trey's fault. The Niners have mishandled him since day one.
I think Jamarcus Russell is a rare breed of bustitude. You don't, I mean, it's Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, maybe a few others. Trey Lance, considering what his career has been so far, it's notably been injuries. You can't really call a guy a bust because of injuries. I mean, some people can, but I don't think that's fair, and it's always been awkward for him to get on the field because at the same time when he has an injury or he's just not ready, you have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who I didn't mention about the Raiders, but I'll get back to that later.
He's hot.
Or you have a guy like Brock Purdy, who's out there just slinging it and playing amazingly, and it's hard when you have other quarterbacks on your roster that are also worthy of starting. It makes it hard for the team to go out and, well, let's go back to this guy. It's like, I mean, think about when the Niners went to the Super Bowl against the Ravens. Like, what, I forget, but wasn't Alex Smith healthy in the playoffs, but they kept going with Kaepernick, right?
So I think he was healthy late in the regular season, but Jim Harbaugh made a decision. Yeah, we're sticking with Colin Kaepernick. Because right. I think not at the time, but I've sort of heard after the fact by listening to like other people talk about it who have knowledge on the team that Jim Harbaugh would spend time with Colin Kaepernick and sort of try to bring him along.
Yeah.
Like that was his project.
Yeah.
And so when Alex Smith got that concussion, I want to say it was the week before the Bears game, Kaepernick came in and he was playing fine. And then the Bears game, Kaepernick went off. It was the week of the Bears game. He was slinging the football. I think Kaepernick was pretty underrated as a passer in his career, but it brought a whole new element of the offense. And you could argue that maybe they win the Super Bowl that year with Alex Smith because he was just the ultimate game manager, because as soon as Harbaugh came in, he stopped turning the ball over.
Yeah.
But what Kaepernick provided was just the big play. And he was just so exciting to watch.
Kaepernick.
That's my favorite player of all time is Colin Kaepernick. I'm not going to get into anything political. I really liked Kaepernick, and he was just a fantastic football player.
Yeah, Kaepernick brought that it factor. Like I don't want to compare him to Steve Young, but like you mentioned earlier about Steve Young and that team, it's like Kaepernick provided that, and he just got hot. He was the hot hand, and that was kind of my whole point was, I think these teams, they just ride the hot hand. And really, for Trey Lance or Brock Purdy or even Sam Darnold, it's all about the opportunity. If the opportunity arises, like last season for Brock Purdy, nobody expected him to see the field. Nobody even knew what he was or who he was. I mean, some knew who he was, but not that he was this guy. but then Lance goes down early, and then a few weeks later, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like, oh my gosh, this Niners team with the best defense in football has to go out there with the third string quarterback. But oh, lucky you guys, he's a baller. It's like, all right. But now that he's the hot hand, it kind of feels like Shanahan's like, well, I'm not really going away from him. Like, that guy was doing everything I wanted him to do,
Yeah, he's the hot hand, Kyle, but you broke his hand. You put Tyler Kroft on what's his name? Hassan Reddick. You put Tyler Kroft on Hassan Reddick, and he couldn't hold the block long enough. And, I mean, you could say that Brock needed to step up into the pocket, but there wasn't really that much room to step up. And
it's the best.
It was just it was a part of the opening script. Yeah, I don't think it was. Yeah. I don't think it was the best play call. But I think
all I was going to say. Sorry, all I was going to say is that the Eagles' defensive line, like the Niners had the best defense in football. Probably still have the best defense in football, but the Eagles' defensive line was just historical as far as rushing the passer. So lining up a tight end against their leading sacker, I'm pretty sure, not wise. Continue.
Not even just a tight end. Your third or fourth string tight end. I think Tyler Kroft was behind. No, actually, maybe he might have even been second string because the Niners kind of play it weird at tight end where they've got Kittle as number one. They keep Ross Dwelly on the roster. And then Charlie Warner's just the blocker. And then for whatever reason, Tyler Kroft just like sneaks his way onto the team and just like jumps in the depth chart.
Yeah.
I would rather play Ross Dwelly than Tyler Kroft, but that's just me. But obviously Kyle Shanahan sees something to where he can put Tyler Kroft there. I just think that even Mike McGlinchey would have had trouble blocking Hassan Reddick. So the fact that you're calling such a long developing play, it was pretty risky, and he wanted to throw a long bomb, and he rolled the dice and lost. So
yeah. So I have a question, just to kind of wrap up this first topic. What are your hopes and expectations for this season from the Niners?
Well, that's a very complicated question when it comes to the 49ers because in a way it's sort of hard to gauge where they're at because they have a core of a team who is getting older. They're definitely not getting younger. And so their window to win is technically now. And I've been told that for several years. They got to win now. They got to win now. We can't develop Trey. We got to win now. And it's like, well, we didn't win. And we didn't develop Trey. When is it time to finally develop Trey? And so I don't know what Trey Lance is going to bring. I'm hopeful about it. I don't know what Sam Darnold's going to bring. I know he turns the ball over a lot. Maybe he can stop turning the ball over. He's got a tremendous arm. And Brock Purdy, I don't even know if he's probably going to lose some velocity. But not only that, you can't even really gauge where he's at because you never know. Teams are able to study film. They're over the offseason, they're able to prepare better for quarterbacks. I think Brock Purdy got away with a lot of rolling out to the left that I don't think teams are going to allow him to do. He would just almost exclusively roll out to the left. But I still think Brock was talented enough. He just needed to work on his pocket game. This might be a hot take, but I think Brock was better in the pocket. No, better outside the pocket than Trey was. And I think Trey was better in the pocket than Brock was. So in a way, if you could put them both together, you would combine, probably the best quarterback in the NFL. But
or you'd get Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. But the funny thing that you mentioned about Jalen Hurts is that he had similar numbers to Trey Lance, throughout their first couple starts. But the Eagles were committed to Jalen Hurts. I think Doug Peterson found out quick that Carson Wentz wasn't going to be the long-term solution. And Carson Wentz was in the MVP
race.
vote. Yeah, he was in the MVP race before he tore I want to say 1 or 2 knees on that play against the Rams. But
I think Carson Wentz is a similar story to Derek Carr, except Derek Carr has had a better post-injury career, But these were guys who were just going up and up, and they get hurt, and it seems like they get scared,
They start hearing footsteps.
Yeah, and then it hinders their play. At least for Derek Carr, he got back up a little bit, but from that point on, from 2016 on, the end of 2016 and on, it felt like he was so up and down and never consistent. And then Carson Wentz, I mean, he's not even a starter anymore. At least I don't think. So I don't even know. He's not even on a team yet.
No, he's not on a team.
Yeah. So.
And if you would have asked me, I would have rather had Carson Wentz. Well, you know what? Now looking at it, I think Sam Darnold is probably there's more there that can be molded than Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But if I was the GM at the time, I think I would have been looking at Carson Wentz because he came from North Dakota State. He can mentor Trey Lance because he had success in the NFL. He also didn't play a lot in college. So just sort of being a mentor and giving Trey tips on how he can adjust to the NFL, I think would have been valuable for him. But that's not why you hire quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah. You don't, you hire coaches to do that.
Yep.
So, it was a cool idea, but obviously it didn't end up working that way. So I'm kind of fine with them getting Darnold. But yeah, I mean, I think that it'll definitely be an interesting season. And to sort of answer your question on what I'm expecting out of the Niners, I'm expecting a lot of wins. And I'm expecting whoever the quarterback is, they have to adjust to the system. And either adjust to defenses figuring them out with Brock Purdy, or and also life post the arm surgery, and there's going to be adjustment at the quarterback position, but I think they're going to be very competitive and win a lot of games. And obviously, we'll look at the schedule and kind of gauge where we think they're going to be at.
Yep, and I'm excited to see the schedule. But first, we're going to do a little bit of a talk about the draft.
Yeah, so let's recap the draft real quick. I think I'll go first because it'll be a little bit quicker and easier for me, and you can kind of think about what you want to say. But as a 49er fan, it's hard for me to get excited about the draft now because we're not in a rebuilding phase. We have our foundation set. Obviously, we can add great players through the draft, but we don't have draft capital. We had a second-round pick, and then we traded that for Christian McCaffrey. And honestly, I think it was a good trade, and the offense really took off.
Oh, yeah.
So what I think about the draft is I don't really have many thoughts on it because with Kyle Shanahan, he doesn't even trust rookies all that often. And so I could think, oh, yeah, this is a really great pick, but it's just hard for me to really say that and really mean it because we won't really know until training camp and honestly, like the season, how much these guys are even going to be able to contribute or where they'll be on the depth chart.
Yeah.
And so, they took a kicker in the 3rd round, and maybe he's the best kicker in the draft. I really hope he is. He should be a contributor to this team. But taking a kicker with one of your highest picks, that should tell you almost everything you need to know about where the Niners' priorities were in terms of building their football team. Mm-hmm. So I'll know more as the offseason progresses and as the regular season plays out a little bit about these players, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on them. Mike, would you like to talk about the Raiders?
Absolutely. I will say 2 things about the Niners draft. I think your first pick that you guys made, you guys traded up for Jair Brown. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but
I think it's Jair Brown, but
Jair, yeah. I I liked the idea of him for the Raiders, so I thought, okay, like that's an interesting pick for the Niners. Like, I know you guys have Funga and I'm forgetting the guy's name right
Tayshaun
now.
Gibson.
Yes, I feel like this guy Brown, he will be a good third, maybe fourth safety for you guys that might be able to come in on certain packages and whatnot. And then for the kicker, that was hilarious in the moment, but that was like the second to last or third to last pick of the third round. So the next, the fourth round was the next morning. And about 12 picks into the fourth round, the Patriots picked a kicker. So in the moment, it felt like, whoa, that's a massive reach. But I think in hindsight, with the Patriots going out and picking a kicker, that's a tongue twister. Picking a kicker. Really soon afterwards, it feels like, well, the positive that you could take from that is, hey, the Niners got their kicker. Like, Robbie Gould apparently isn't coming back. At least I don't think. So they got the guy that they trust the most. And, that's going to be the rookie that Shanahan's going to have to trust because kickers are important, and if they got it right, that's huge. There was a day way back in 2000 or 2001, whichever year, when the Raiders picked a kicker in the first round named Sebastian Janikowski.
And Sebastian Janikowski went on to be the best kicker who ever lived.
Yeah.
The end.
No.
I'm just playing. But no. Janikowski had a great career. And you could argue he was worth the pick. Although I would have to really look at that draft. The Raiders probably could have gotten a player that maybe, like a fundamental piece.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter because you need 53 good players and not just like one. And is Janikowski the highest scoring Raider of all time?
Yes, he is. So it was worth it in a sense. But the place where drafting kickers and punters becomes a question is opportunity cost, like you mentioned. Maybe they wait till the second or even third round. Nobody else is thinking, we're going to pick this kicker in the second round. Like the Raiders doing that was like, it was probably Al Davis flipping everybody off, including the media. Like that's what that was. And because he was maybe a little cocky and he felt my team's good, we're good to roll. A year or two later, they went to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they lost. And I think, the way to look at it would be that Raiders team felt that they were in a similar place as the Niners' current team is now, where, hey, we need a kicker that can score those points that we need to score. We can't be having these missed field goals, It's
what
worth
year
it.
Did they draft Janikowski?
It was either 2000 or 2001. I'm not sure.
So he was on the team that went to the Super Bowl?
Yep. Absolutely.
You know what? It's hard for me to say that if they would have drafted, another player that they maybe win that Super Bowl because, that Super Bowl was just so one-sided.
Yeah, and the whole coaching aspect with John Gruden being traded the offseason prior, it's like...
Yeah, Gruden knew all the plays and everything, and so...
Because they kept the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bucs knew exactly what was coming, so you can't really say that one decision would have changed the trajectory of that season.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, but Janikowski probably helped them get to that Super Bowl. The years prior it was like an AFC Championship and divisional playoffs or whatever. The Tuck Rule game. But if you can still get him in the second round or even the third round, and you can pick maybe a top tier defender in the first round, it's like that's the difference. But as far as the actual topic at hand, this year's draft, I was hoping in the first round for the Raiders because we have many holes, but notably our defense has been horrendous ever since that Super Bowl that we were talking about from over 20 years ago now. We need to get defenders on this team. Just add talent. I don't care what position. That's how I felt about the first round, and they delivered with Tyree Wilson. I think I was pretty excited when they signed Chandler Jones last offseason, but he didn't quite deliver what I was hoping, last season.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt this might be his final season with the Raiders, but he might stay for the next two. either way, I felt that getting a defensive end that can take over for him is a good idea because, we talked about how valuable quarterbacks are. I think the next most important position in football is defensive end. You have to get to the quarterback, right?
I disagree.
So, what is yours?
Offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say left tackle for sure is I would say definitely top 3. But I think when you have a great pass rush like the Eagles, like the Niners, that makes a massive difference. And like that Buccaneers team that beat the Raiders way back when, the Raiders had the top offense, Buccaneers had the top defense. And you add in the coaching aspect of Gruden, and it's a little different, but you think about the Ravens a year prior or after, with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all that, it's like it makes a difference.
Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
If you look at the Super Bowl that the Chiefs lost, yeah, you can attribute that to the Buccaneers' fantastic defense. Mm. They were stacked on defense that year.
Yeah.
But I think that the Chiefs had 3 starting linemen out, and Mahomes couldn't do anything.
I think both of their tackles were out. Yeah.
And so
he ran like 500 yards or something total in that game.
Yeah, you look at the most important position, and you look at the Kansas City Chiefs have been like the most dominant team in the past couple years. So they have a winning formula there, but they could not get anything done in that Super Bowl without an offensive line.
Yeah, 100%.
And then also another reason why I say offensive line is more important than defensive end is because Nick Bosa just won Defensive Player of the Year, and he is one of the most dominant pass rushers in the NFL, and honestly one of the most dominant defenders, period, in the NFL. In 2020, he tore his ACL in like week 2, and the 49ers still had like a top 3 defense.
Yeah.
So you can get by without like a top tier pass rusher. Obviously, it really helps like deep in the playoffs and everything.
Yeah.
But if you want to be contending for a Super Bowl, you need to have a top tier quarterback and you need to have a solid offensive line.
Yeah. I think you actually convinced me because that last point is, very good. You can have a rotation of pass rushers, but sending out a rotation of offensive linemen doesn't quite work the same.
Well, actually, it works fine. You can ask Kyle Shanahan. Daniel Brunskill and Spencer Burford were sharing reps last year, and then I want to say the year before that it was Brunskill and someone else. I don't know.
I guess point being, your defensive end goes down. Yeah, your pass rush is going to be less efficient, but you can send in another guy that has just as much maybe juice, and he'll go out and do that. But you put out a backup off left tackle, and his handwork and footwork aren't nearly as elite as a guy like, whether it's why am I spacing on the left tackle of the Niners right now? I almost said Trent Brown. Okay, thank you. Trent Williams. I knew it was Trent. Whether it's Trent Williams, Trent Brown, or Colton Miller, like you downgrade from that significantly, that's going to hinder the offensive performance. But yeah, back to the Raiders draft. I really liked the Tyree Wilson pick. I think that he just looks like a mixture of Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, just lanky, tall defensive end, and then let me actually look at the draft picks that they got. Michael Mayer in the second round.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like Michael Mayer.
I like him a lot. I didn't think he was going to be there based off of everything I had kind of seen leading up. And, we trade Darren Waller this offseason. I wasn't, at least usually in the previous regimes for the Raiders, we have never gotten an immediate starter in the second round. It just never happens. So them trading up a few picks and getting Michael Mayer, it was like, okay, like that definitely works. And they also, Foster Moreau walked, and unfortunately he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, I believe.
Yeah.
But he actually just signed with the Saints, which is really cool. But we had a massive hole at tight end, so that was a hole that felt like it was filled. And they also signed, oh gosh, the guy that was with the Titans recently, and he used to be with the Browns and somebody else, tight end. Anyways, tight end feels much not.
Didn't they sign OJ Howard?
They have OJ Howard, although I don't really expect him to. I don't even really expect him to make the team, honestly. Now that we have Michael Mayer. Oh man, that's gonna kill me. Let me see. Really quick here. Tight end for the Raiders. It is. Come on, Austin Hooper.
That's yeah. Honestly, Austin Hooper, he was pretty good a couple years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how his career has been recently, but
yeah, I think he's a serviceable, starting tight end. But you add in Michael Mayer, and it's like, I think pretty quickly into the season, Michael Mayer might take over.
Didn't Hooper come from Stanford?
You might be right. I honestly don't know. The rest of the picks, I mean, the two big picks after those two would be Jacorian Bennett in the 4th round, cornerback, and then Christopher Smith, I believe, in the 5th round, safety from Georgia. Apparently, Christopher Smith is really instinctive, and that's what I like to hear, because it feels like all of our safeties are not on the Raiders, just deficient in, in any good defensive play other than Max Crosby, really. And then Bennett sounds like a very fast, physical corner that, we need a good young nucleus of corners on this roster, and then hopefully you can find 2 of them within the next year that can become starters. And I like Nate Hobbs, so if this guy can come out and become the next corner 1 or 2, sweet. And then the only other player that I really want to talk about is Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback. Selected in the end of the end of the 4th round.
Jimmy, run! No, just
I mean, that's the thing.
Sorry to everybody at home, by the way. I know that just probably blew out your speakers and hurt your ears, but
they're gonna need a warning next time.
But I had to shout that so he could hear me all the way in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. But with Jimmy Garoppolo being their quarterback, that they need to have a good backup, and I don't expect a rookie to be a good backup, but it sounds like this guy is a pretty smart player, so hopefully he goes out there, he gets the system down pretty quick, and if his name is called, he can perform to a pretty good level. But I honestly think if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, there's probably no hope for this team as they currently sit. But I think in a year from now that might change, because I think next year in the draft we'll be selecting a quarterback in the 1st round.
You don't think Brian Hoyer is going to step up to the plate?
I mean, I actually do like having Brian Hoyer on the roster, because it sounds like he's kind of a player's coach, if you will. Like, he's the type of guy that's going to be
a coach's player.
Yeah. No, you're right.
No, you're using it right. A player's coach.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. Yeah, whatever. Same thing.
Like a coach on the field.
Exactly. He's going to be the guy on the clipboard that's probably talking to Aiden O'Connell all the time.
Field.
Yeah. But I mean, that's really it about that. I mean, there's a 3rd round defensive tackle, Byron Young, I think is a pretty underrated pick. But like you said about the Niners picks, you don't really know until you really get to see these players. So I can't come out here and say like any pick was great until like a year or 2 from now, right? Yeah, I think the only interesting part, I guess, negatively about the draft for the Raiders is that they didn't really go for a linebacker as early as I anticipated, and they didn't select an offensive lineman at all. And I thought going into the draft, I felt that going into the draft, the Raiders had a massive glaring hole at right guard, and you could argue it's still pretty glaring, but they did get an undrafted free agent that sounds like he might have a chance to make the team. But
the Niners are in the same exact boat, And this entire draft, I was just sort of waiting for them to draft an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And then they drafted a kicker. And I was like, oh, no. I was like,
Well,
no.
and that's the funny thing. Oh, go ahead.
But another thing I just want to say real quick is I would rather the 49ers draft a player who's going to make an impact than just waste a pick on somebody that they have no plan on playing.
Yeah.
And like, if they were going to pick, I don't want them to just pick an offensive lineman just for the sake of picking an offensive lineman if he's
100%.
not going to contribute.
Yeah,
or I mean, he's going to be trash.
Yeah, if the Raiders had picked a player that they needed in the first round, it might have been Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon, or it might have been an offensive guard. And it's like, I mean, Christian Gonzalez fell 10 more picks past our pick. Actually, I think more.
Did he go to Washington?
The Patriots.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking there was a running back for the Commanders. I think his name is Rodriguez.
Maybe, yeah.
I was just like thinking, I was like, oh, it sounds like Ron Rivera is giving, an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like a late round draft pick.
Right. Yeah.
Just take a flyer on a guy.
And the funny thing about Washington was that the pick before the Patriots chose Gonzalez, the Commanders, almost said the R word. The Commanders selected a corner that wasn't Christian Gonzalez, and I was just sitting there like, whoa, like Gonzalez was projected to potentially go to the Raiders, and he fell past. He wasn't the second corner taken. I was just like, wow. Yeah. And that's really it, I think, for the draft as far as all of that.
Yeah, we should let's move into our next topic. I'm pretty excited about it because I've been just so you guys know at home, we have not taken any look at the schedule. We maybe got a little peek at the preseason. That's about it. This is a fresh reaction. Let me go ahead and put the ticker on right now.
Yeah, it's currently 8:02 p.m., 8:03 actually.
On May 11th, 2023.
Yep. So the schedule just released 3 hours ago exactly. I've seen a few.
3 firsts and a third, okay? It makes it
exactly
3 hours, 3 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen a few little leaks here and there on Twitter, but I really don't know much about this schedule. Although I do know about the first week of the preseason. So let's just get into that right now.
I've just been trying to steer clear. Let's see here. Let me just make sure that. Okay, we're still up and recording. All right, let me share my screen.
Are we going to do the Niners first?
Take your pick.
Yeah, let's do the Niners.
Okay. Share screen. San Francisco 49ers. Okay. Are you able to see it?
I am able to see it. Let's get into it. I know a few things about the Niners schedule that is very interesting to me, and I'll get to that after.
Oh, this is really important. This is presented by United Airlines, and that's all we're going to show for today.
Yeah, that's our only ad.
So the preseason is about the same that every single preseason is. Oh, tickets are out, by the way. Oh,
yeah, once the schedule is out, it is go time.
Well, there goes my affordable tickets.
And that's in Vegas. Okay. Man, I wonder, okay, not to stop us real quick, but if it seems like they're going back to the, annual Raiders versus Niners preseason game, I could be wrong. But that was always a fun thing back when we were kids, was like every year we knew that they were playing in the preseason, and it was like really fun, but then the fans would get heated, fights, yada, yada, so they stopped that.
And then they brought it back because, the NFL just decided to wake up one day and, hey, fights are fun.
Yeah. And yeah. But
you know what? Fuck them.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But my point is, I wonder if they're only going to have them play off in Vegas, because I don't think they've played a preseason game since they've brought this back in Santa Clara. I could be wrong, but it feels like they haven't, because I feel like I would have gone to one of these games by now. Or we would have gone.
You went to a 49er Raider preseason.
Oh
games.
my gosh, you're right.
You
Okay.
went literally just this past year.
No,
You
it was Gruden's.
no.
I think it was Gruden's final year. I think it was 2021.
Yeah. No. It was
I remember.
2021. Trey Lance was a rookie, and then the Niners trotted out their dual quarterback system.
Disregard.
And then Trey Lance broke his finger, and that has set him back until now, apparently.
Yes, it was Trey Lance's first like major time as a in the preseason was against the Raiders. He scored.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna turn on the light.
Okay.
I need a light.
Yep.
So what do you see real quick? It's 49ers.
You got the AFC West.
Much about the preseason.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing to take away from it is it's all AFC West teams.
Like, oh my God, they get to play against Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Russell Wilson for about a drive or two. So if at all.
Yeah.
Chargers. Okay, week 1, we got the Steelers on Fox.
And that's that's in Pittsburgh. Okay. Wow, first 2 weeks away.
Yeah, the Niners, I don't know if you know, but I think every year they start off like the first two games are away games. At least it's been like this for a while. Oh. And I've heard that the Niners kind of unofficially announce, or not announce, but they unofficially ask to start off on the road because it's too hot in Santa Clara. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
It's too hot in Santa Clara for the first 2 games, or I guess in August and early September.
It definitely gets hot. The sun just beats on you. So.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the Santa Clara sun, it's just it's like a little bit of a different animal. Like
it's different.
They've got they like have a theme park over there. It's called Great America. I go there from time to time, and like honestly, even on a day where it's not really that hot in the Bay Area, the sun can be out, and you'll start to feel it in your cheeks by the end of the day. In these cheeks, okay.
Yeah, well, some might feel it in both sets of cheeks.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So we're at Pittsburgh.
And then at LA.
So I think the Niners probably win that game. Even though I don't know who the quarterback is, I feel pretty good about that. Well, the Niners, they start off slow. It doesn't even matter who's the quarterback. It could be Jimmy. It can be Trey. Hell, all right, Sam, break a leg. Oh.
Well, I hope it's not Jimmy.
Knock on wood. Yeah. But I'm just saying,
like, we don't have a quarterback.
Well, you should hope that it's Jimmy so you can have $26 million back or whatever it is. But
yeah.
No, honestly, I think Jimmy will be fine for you guys. He's going to be a good bridge quarterback.
That's exactly what I was looking for. So, yeah.
So I like our chances against Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. Your defense. Yeah.
I never really liked Kenny Pickett that much. And, we've got a good defense. So I'm not really worried about week 1. We got week 2 against the Rams.
They might earn themselves the first overall pick. Just saying right now.
The Rams?
The Rams, yeah. Unless Stafford goes out there and says, no, I'm still him, But, I mean, he's been having some weird injury issues going on, including his back. It's like, I don't know what's going on there. They have...
Nicking my back.
Cam Akers, the same thing at running back. It's like, they have Cooper Kupp, but that's, besides Aaron Donald, that's it. Their defense is like, besides Aaron Donald, on paper, the worst defense in football right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I don't think their offensive line.
Do they still have Ramsey?
Either. No. Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't even have well, Ramsey was kind of washed anyway. But so I'm not really worried about the Rams either. Honestly, the Niners could very well start off 2-0. These would be two really good games to get Trey Lance's feet wet. Kyle Shanahan, take a hint, huh? No.
How about week 3 on
one
Thursday?
Arm Brock and you're gonna get him hurt again, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be in LA. So we got one road game, one home game on the road.
Yeah. Hey, true. Thursday, week 3.
Yeah. Against the New York Giants.
So your first home games. That's cool. Sorry, your first home game's a primetime game.
Prime time.
That's cool.
I like the Niners in that one.
Oh,
It's going to sound like I'm just going to say Niners over and over. New York's going to be the first harder opponent. I think their defense is pretty good. I like Daboll as a head coach.
Yeah.
That's I think the Steelers is right.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
I think the Steelers are sneaky, but I agree with you. I think it's also just hard to say against most teams. Like, yeah, I see the Niners losing here. It's like with their defense, the real question is quarterback, like we've talked about. That's where it's going to get tricky. But looking on paper, so far I see 3-0.
Unless Kenny Pickett takes a huge jump in year 2, I think I just see the 49ers kind of containing him.
Yeah.
So let's see here. The Arizona Cardinals. I mean, Kyler's still going to be out. I don't even know if D-Hop's going to be on the team.
Right.
That's going to be a home game. I think the Niners probably walk away with this one. And they're going to have a lot of confidence coming off the first 3 weeks, hopefully. Yeah. But they always start slow. So that's why it's just like, I don't know. Right. But I'm hopeful that they can start 4-0. How about that?
Yeah.
Then they got the Cowboys.
Sunday
and that's
Night Football.
At home.
Wow.
Okay. This is where I think okay, so it's Sunday Night Football. This is where I think, let's just say it is Trey Lance. This is where I think you're running into a harder defense. Brock Purdy didn't just like waltz all over the Cowboys in the defense, and Brock Purdy hit the ground running, and the offense, the entire team was already meshing at the right time. The Niners, they won in the playoffs, but this is where you might see a little bit of a growing pain if it's Trey Lance. If it's Brock Purdy, this might be the week that he comes back, for all I know. I don't know what his timeline is, but I heard that he could be out the first 4 weeks. I don't know exactly like how it's going to work out.
Right. I mean, you got to just hope if you guys are 4-0, I think that would be the hot hand right there. It's like, again, why rush Brock Purdy? If you guys are 4-0, clearly Trey Lance is doing something right.
Yeah.
That would be this. That's where I'm like, I'm not bringing him out until he proves me that I need to.
Hopefully he's going to be more comfortable, but this one is one where I could see the Niners losing.
Yeah, their defense is sneaky.
And it pains me to say that because we beat the Cowboys in the playoffs the past 2 years. But the regular season, it's just it's a whole different animal,
Yeah.
And Trey hasn't. I don't think Trey has proven himself against a great defense, but I'm hoping that these first 4 weeks will get him prepared for week 5.
Yeah, I think the Steelers is a good first little, judgment. The Steelers defense is always kind of a sneaky good, they're going to be hard hitting, smart.
Please, God, don't let it be in a monsoon.
Right. One note that I have just about all this so far is, you go the first 2 weeks away and then 3 straight home games, 2 of them being on primetime. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And all right, if week 5 is with Sam Darnold at the helm, then this might be the game where if they start 4-0, this might be the game where Sam Darnold starts to maybe throw a couple interceptions because I don't think the Cowboys defense is really that bad. And, we can see a couple turnovers. I don't know. I think they'll win, but my gut is telling me it's not a lock. It's not a lock. Is what I'll say. Week 6 against the Browns. At the Browns.
I don't really think their defense is going to be special. It's really all a matter of if Deshaun Watson gets back to his old form,
Yeah.
Week 7, though.
I mean, week 6 could be a problem because Nick Chubb is a fantastic running back.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper is a really good wide receiver. There are going to be some players on the Niners who are going to get banged up in the first couple of weeks. Like, that's just football. The same thing with the Browns, too. But the 49ers, for whatever reason, they're made of you have to wrap them in bubble wrap sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I would give you
You know
guys
what?
the win against the Browns.
As of right now, but that's another one where I'm not gonna make an official prediction now. But that's
Yeah,
sort of
it's
just we'll find out
on
more as
paper.
we get there.
Yeah, I think that's a game where Deshaun Watson being on a hot streak can completely flip that to, whoa, the Browns are on fire. I think the Browns beat the Niners. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Here's another team. I really think that uh, I don't know if I'm ever going to pick the Niners to lose on here, but that's just me being a fan, right? I think the Vikings could give them problems because they're going to be a very pass first team. But at the same time, if Kirk Cousins is still in there, which he probably will be, the pass rush is really gonna be the game changer in that game. So
Yeah.
I like the Niners versus the Vikings too. The Bengals, that's going to be tougher because it's going to be similar to the Vikings, but it's going to be a home game. The Viking. Oh, hold on. Hey, we're going to fuck
Monday.
the Vikings Monday night.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I hope Kirk Cousins is in there, dude.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. I made a joke with, should I say the joke?
I forget the joke. I do remember laughing hard about it, but I forget the exact.
You know what? I'll just say it.
Yeah.
We gotta throw a bone to our audience, but I sort of have a theory on why Kirk Cousins plays like crap on Monday night. Like I think that he plays all these football games on Sundays, and this is just I could be completely wrong. So Kirk, if you ever watch this, if I'm right, you don't have to admit it. If I'm wrong, I'm probably 99.999% wrong. But every Sunday night, your wife puts on a strap on, huh? You can't walk the next day, and that's why you play like shit on Monday night. Huh?
Oh God,
that's probably a Sunday night ritual.
Oh,
hey.
Yes,
I'm just joking. So, Kirk Cousins' lawyers, if you see this, I don't really have much. So
all I remembered was that it was a joke involving his wife. I completely forgot the strap on.
Yeah. I think verbatim I said like, oh yeah, he probably gets pegged down on Sunday nights after the game, to celebrate a victory, and then Monday night it's just like, yeah, he's like kind of limping in the pocket.
Can I say something real quick?
You're cool. Kyle Shanahan really has wanted you ever since he's been here. So
yeah,
if Kyle likes you, we all, I guess, have to when you inevitably come.
What are you talking about? Which way?
Oh,
sorry. I will say one thing about the schedule that I've seen so far. The only two games that I look at that are real, like, likelihoods, if you will, that the Niners might lose those games is the Cowboys in Week 5 and the Bengals in Week 8. And both of those games are at home. I mean, the Vikings could beat you guys, sure, but we already talked about Monday Night Kirk. I don't see it happening unless maybe Justin Jefferson takes the game over or something. But again, I don't see it. They also might get rid of Dalvin Cook, apparently. And it's like, if they do that, they're not going to run on the Niners, and then they're going to have to depend on Kirk Cousins. So anyways, I think it's pretty nice schedule so far for the Niners. The two toughest games that I've seen are at home. So carry on.
So, all right, we've got Bengals. I think that's going to be a tough one for the 49ers. If they've already won 7 in a row,
it's fine.
Maybe they could, probably. I mean, that would be a good test against Cincinnati. But since I don't know who the quarterback is going to be, I'm just going to go ahead and say that the Bengals might pull that one out.
Yeah, I'll give this one to the Bengals.
Okay, so I mean, I could still see the Niners winning because it's a home game, but
yeah,
I mean, they're not going to go 17-0, so I better shut my trap.
The Jaguars are a very interesting team this season as well.
I could see that being a very physical game.
Yeah, I could see it being a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, Trent Baalke's going to want his revenge. He's like,
yeah, true.
He's like, I'm so jealous. The Niners got to play Kirk after he got pegged. But it's a morning game. Give me the Niners. Let's see here. We got Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Bucs are going to be awful. Give me the Niners.
Okay.
So we got 10-1, I think, right now.
Yeah. Can I say something about Week 12?
Yes.
This is on Thanksgiving.
Do I need to pull up the Richard Sherman eating turkey after beating the Niners? That was a fun memory, I guess.
I just think this was one of the interesting games to me, is that they're playing a division rival on Thanksgiving at 5:20. It's the prime game. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so while the rest of my family's eating dinner, I'm going to be sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah,
I'm going to be getting seconds after.
Yeah.
But, at Seattle Seahawks, Niners always have trouble in Seattle. And I think the Seahawks are honestly going to be good this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be another toss-up. And that's going to be another one where who's going to be the quarterback? So you don't really know. Niners dismantled the Seahawks in the playoffs, though, but the Seahawks got better.
Yeah.
I still like the 49ers in that one. Are you still with me, Mike?
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still like the 49ers in that one. Eagles in Philadelphia. I'm going to say
coming off a Thursday night game, so you get extra rest.
Yeah.
Also, did we skip the bye week by any chance? I kind of feel like maybe we didn't notice.
Yes, week 9. Week 9's the bye week, and then going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's right in the middle of the schedule.
I think the Eagles, as long as they're not having a huge Super Bowl hangover this year, and as long as Jalen Hurts isn't like, I got paid, so like I'm sort of a made man. Like if he's still hungry, like for a Super Bowl,
mm-hmm.
The Eagles fans are really tough. It's a hard place to play, especially if the Eagles are good. Yeah, I'm going to give that one to the Eagles. I think that Debo's been kind of talking shit, and I don't know. It just kind of it screams to me a game where the fan base is going to try to make excuses on why the Niners should have won.
Mm-hmm.
Or make excuses on why they played like shit. Something like that, like how the NFC Championship kind of ended. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna chalk this up to the Eagles, and then Seahawks at home. If we don't beat them the first time, I think we'll beat them the second time. I don't see them beating us twice. Then again, who the hell is the quarterback? Give me the Niners.
I think by this point in the season, we'll know who the quarterback is, and whoever it is will be the hot hand. So I feel like at this point, it'll be good for the Niners.
Yeah. Also, if the 49ers do indeed follow what I said in terms of their record thus far, they're going to be playing hard to try and get the 1 seed. These are going to be like playoff games. Yeah. They're going to want to get the first round bye. Yeah. So losing to the Eagles, honestly, they could even win. They could even win against the Eagles. Like I wouldn't be shocked one way or another.
That's the thing about the Niners roster is you can chalk any of these games up as a win, and I'd say, yeah, makes sense. It's just the quarterback question. But once we get to the season, we know who the quarterback is. We see how they play the first couple of weeks. We'll know.
Mm-hmm. So I think they win against Seattle. I think they steamroll Arizona. I don't really like their head coach that much. And then honestly, they don't look so competent right now.
If it's not the Rams, I think the likelihood, even like take the Rams out of it, the likelihood is the Cardinals will have the first overall pick this year. That's the way I look at them.
The Ravens probably going to be a tough game because the Niners always struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. They
another home game though.
Their pass rush comes up field a lot, and so it creates a lot of running lanes. Yeah. And so I'm going to go ahead and say if Eric Armstead is playing defensive end, just chalk that up as a loss right there. Eric Armstead is a fantastic football player. I'm not saying that he's not. I just think he's much better on the interior than he is on the, playing defensive end. And I think part of the reason why the 49ers struggle when they play multiple quarterbacks is because you'll have Eric Armstead trying, he makes an impact on the defensive line. Even if he doesn't record a sack, I think he's a very disruptive player. I think he gets too much depth in the backfield, and I don't think it works out against a team like the Ravens. It's going to be another Monday night game, so we won't have sore Kirk Cousins. It should be a fun game to watch. I'll be taking, at this moment right now, because I don't know the quarterback, but you know what? We will know much more about the situation by then.
It's a Monday night game at home, but I will say the Ravens have gotten better this offseason.
Yeah.
You can chalk it up as a loss because of Lamar Jackson. That's fine with me. But all of these games that we're saying they might be a loss, I think they're going to be great games, period.
Yeah, they could most definitely be wins. So, Washington Commanders, just give that to the Niners. I don't really have faith in whoever their quarterback's going to be. I don't really think Sam Howell is going to be that good.
Yeah.
And then Los Angeles Rams, just give me a win right there. So,
I think that
first round pick this year.
What's that?
Do the Rams have a first round pick this year?
This might be the first year that they do. I feel like this past draft was the final year of the Jared Goff and Matt Stafford trade for them. I will say, just the final week of the season for the Niners. If I'm a Niner fan, I'm happy that that's the Rams or Cardinals, but it's the Rams instead of the Seahawks. Because the Seahawks would be that team that plays spoiler. I mean, the Rams can. You probably would have preferred to see the Cardinals here, but I just don't see much of the Rams this season. So, and I really do think they have nothing to play for. They're not going to go out there and win a Super Bowl. They're in a tough division with the Niners and Seahawks. If they finally do have a first round pick, they might be thinking, "Hey, let's try to go get a quarterback. Let's reload."
So I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the Raiders.
Cool. I'm ready.
All right. Let's see. Share screen here. Las Vegas Raiders.
The only regular season game that I've been spoiled of, I think, is Week 8, and I'm very excited for that game.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, Raiders.
Okay. Preseason, Niners, Rams, Cowboys. That's a cool lineup. So week 1, we have the Broncos. And
real quick, can I just say something?
Yeah.
Based off of looking, I like the way that the schedule is laid out more on this than scrolling all the way through each individual matchup. Like I get to kind of visualize where they've been more instead of, because you start to forget, who they played. But this is like it's all there. I like that.
I do like the slow build up to who's the next opponent, but this is cool too. I'm going to go one at a time too. So week 1, Broncos, I really don't know what to expect with Sean Payton, mixing with Russell Wilson, but I would expect something better from them this season. Everybody still thinks that their defense is still good. We'll see. And then we'll also see how Russell Wilson reacts to another new offense, This is going to be the opposite as used with the Niners. I'm not going to easily chalk up many wins here. But if I had to,
Raiders are going undefeated.
Hey man, Jimmy G.
Jimmy just wins games.
Right. I do see something that I like in week 13, but we'll get to that later. Week 1, it's in Denver. Oh man, I mean,
the Broncos.
You know what? Yeah, I was just gonna say, the Raiders have the Broncos number. We are undefeated against them I think the entirety of the Raiders' tenure in Vegas so far. So at least 3 seasons. I want to say it's the past 8 matchups. We're undefeated. And just because I can't stand the Broncos, let's just say it's a win for the Raiders. But week 2 is going to be a loss at Buffalo. I don't see a time, but I'm assuming that's 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's 10 a.m.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and try to make this bigger. See if that helps. Are you able to see that a little bit better? Or
okay, that helped. I'd say right there is good. Yeah. So yeah, 10 a.m. Week 1 is 1:25 p.m. Which is actually kind of a late game for Denver, I think. But anyways, yeah, Buffalo. That's a cool matchup. That looking at our opponents before seeing the schedule, Buffalo was the game that I want to go attend. Buffalo just came out and announced that they are going through with their new stadium, and the process is like beginning for them to build the next stadium. All I've heard are great things about their, tailgating experience in Buffalo. You see guys jumping on tables and stuff. I want to see it so bad.
Probably for Buffalo fans. I don't know how the experience is for away fans.
Yeah, I think the way that it comes off to me is that they're funny, and they're not Eagles fans, So I don't know. I just, if I can, I would like to go to this game, but if I can't, it's all right. I guess part of my mentality is I know how expensive Raiders tickets are. When Buffalo gets this new stadium in 3 years and they still have Josh Allen, those tickets are going to be impossible, I'm assuming. So I'd like to visit Buffalo's stadium
and then you probably want to get it before it's like all corporated out, because
Exactly.
when teams get a new stadium, it's like it never has the vibe of the old stadium.
Yeah. Then I mean, the Raiders now, the Golden State Warriors, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I've got the Raiders at 0-2 right now.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. Week 3, Sunday Night Football. I want to say that's at home. Okay, against the Steelers. I'd like to win that game. I can't say that
the
we
Raiders
will.
could win that game.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is similar to the Niners. We have the first 2 primetime games of week 3. You guys have Thursday, we have Sunday. And they're both home openers, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to say because it's a home opener, I'll give us the win. But I think the way that I might look at it is we're 1-2. We either win the Bronco or Steelers game. Week 4 at Chargers. Like you said about the Rams, this is the Raiders' extra home game. I can't say whether, I mean, looking on paper, the Chargers should win this game, plain and simply. The Chargers have a pretty nice roster on paper, but every year they somehow manage to not do what they're expected to do. Any thoughts so far these first 4 weeks?
So I think that week 1, 3, and 4 are definitely winnable weeks. I think I like the Broncos in week 1. I just think, I have this, it's going to be like welcome back Sean Payton kind of week. And,
right.
And also Russell Wilson got humiliated last year. He got the media was absolutely out to get him last year. And everybody was like, because Russell Wilson's he's kind of a corny guy.
He is very corny.
And so a lot of his former teammates say how unapproachable he is. So, I mean, last season was just like he was an easy target. And I think that he was a great player, during his tenure with the Seahawks. Obviously, he started to dwindle off after a couple years, but I think that he has a good deep ball. He may not run outside the pocket, as much as he used to, but if you pair him with a competent head coach instead of Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, Sean Payton won a Super Bowl. Yeah. I don't think Sean Payton's the best head coach in the NFL. I don't even think maybe top 5.
Right.
But I would
He's
really
all
have to go look at the coaches. But
Yeah. I think one thing with Sean Payton is he makes very good decisions, but I think his tenure with the Saints was greatly uplifted by a historical Drew Brees career, Um I don't know. I just part of me wonders if Russell Wilson just doesn't have it anymore. I also have questions about the run game because Javonte Williams is coming off an injury, and I think Melvin Gordon's officially gone.
yeah, I think he's a free agent still. So
Yeah, and I think their offensive line got worse this offseason. They overpaid Mike McGlinchey, a guy that you know. But I mean, in that sense, they got better. But
what do you
Mike
mean
McGlinchey,
overpaid? The 49ers said that he was just too good, so they couldn't re-sign him. He was going to be too expensive.
exactly.
No, McGlinchey, I mean, he's a solid run blocker. Like I'll give him that. Like I like him when he's run blocking. I just think that he's kind of a liability when it comes to pass blocking. For the most part, he's solid, but he just his foot he needs better footwork because a couple plays a game he'll just kind of end. I mean, it'll look bad because he'll just end up on the ground somewhere.
Yeah, I'd
Spinning
like to
around.
think. Yeah, I'd really like to think that we mop the floor with the Broncos, but I can't really predict anything with this Raiders team because I don't know how Garoppolo is going to do. I don't know when he's going to be healthy or unhealthy, and I don't know how this defense is going to play. I think our offense should be efficient, but will it be efficient enough to counter how inefficient our defense will be?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a three-headed monster at defensive end with Crosby, Chandler Jones, and Tyree Wilson might make a big difference. And then maybe our corners play a little better and our safeties play a little smarter. We'll see. I mean, something I didn't talk about earlier, they drafted a linebacker in the 6th round, but linebacker is just a glaring hole for the Raiders right now. So
You said glaring hole, or are we at the Vikings game on Monday night?
Oh God, great. I would like to think coming out of week 4, the Raiders are 2-2, but I'm not expecting a 500 season. I think we might be just below 500 at the end of the season. And week 5 is one of those. Oh no, I was going to say week 5 is lost, but I completely forgot about Aaron Rodgers leaving the Packers. I go on a limb and say
I don't think the Packers are going to drop off as well. I don't think their passing game is going to be as great as it was, but I think we're going to see a more balanced offense. And honestly, I don't think Jordan Love is really that much of a scrub. We don't really know much about him yet.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing is we haven't seen much of him. The one game that he did play, I think last year, whenever year it was, when I think Rodgers had
against
COVID,
Kansas City,
he played pretty well. Now Kansas City's defensive backs were suspect at the time, I want to say, but if he can go out there and play competent, they can do something. I think the Packers defense is very underrated. So yeah, this is another game again where it's not an easy thing to say. Like, I think the Raiders will win this game, but I'd like to think that on Monday Night Football at home, hopefully we can win. Like I guess so far, the games I really want to win, the Bronco game, just because I can't stand the Broncos and I love the streak that we have. And then the 2 primetime games at home, Sunday Night Football against the Steelers, now Monday Night Football against the Packers. I like to win those games. Week 6, we got the Patriots at home, and that's a rematch of last year's crazy finish with Chandler Jones stiff-arming Mac Jones after the weird, crazy play with Jacoby Myers, now a Raider, throwing that football to Chandler Jones. It's Josh McDaniels versus Bill Belichick. You never know. I think the Patriots are going to be much better this year. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team because that division alone is so tough. Now with Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, and now fucking Jalen Ramsey. It's like that division is tough. Like I think the AFC East this year is what we expected the AFC West to be last year. I think the AFC East is legit what we thought the West was going to be last year.
Who's
which
in
is
the
14.
AFC East again? I'm sorry.
The
I mean,
Bills.
I'm paying attention, but
Yeah.
it's just hard for me to think right now. I'm kind
They're
of
all
hungry.
on. Sorry, they're all on this schedule. The
Is it
Bills,
the Bills,
Dolphins.
Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
so
those are 4 great teams on paper.
those are 3 great teams, and then the Patriots.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yeah. I wouldn't say the Patriots are great, but I think they are sleepers. Now, the problem for them is that they have 6 games that they should lose in divisional games.
I wouldn't even call the Jets great yet. I would call them competitive.
Yeah,
We have to
competitive,
see it
up
all
and
come
coming.
together because the Packers weren't even that bad of a roster last year, but I just don't know. I think Rodgers looks more focused this year than he did last year. I
Yeah.
think a new environment will be good for him. I just don't know how much desire he has to still play football. Like that to me is a question, but I think they should be a very competitive team this year, much more than last year.
Yeah, for sure. Week 7 at the Bears. The Bears are like this wild card team this season, kind of like the way I felt about the Dolphins last year, where they have this young quarterback that, I mean, I don't think Tua took a big step a year ago, but Justin Fields feels like he did. Maybe not quite as a passer, but as a playmaker for sure. And now they have DJ Moore and a couple other additions. This isn't a team that I can say that the Raiders will beat. Last year, I'd say yes, but not this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then week 8 is that game that I was talking about that I'm so excited for. I'm a massive Raiders fan, so I think no matter what the Raiders look like, they're exciting to me. But the Lions are, to me, the most exciting team in football right now. Like you personally, Josh, you know how I am, where I like to root for the underdog. So when it comes to the Super Bowl, the playoffs, whatever, I'm rooting for the teams that don't have much experience in the Super Bowl and playoffs. So like the Cincinnati Bengals, a team like the Detroit Lions. Like I want to see teams that haven't even won it. The Minnesota Vikings. I want to see those teams go out there and win Super Bowls, So Lions, I like the way that they've built their team. I love Dan Campbell. Besides week 8, I want to see them tear a hole in the league. I would love to see them in the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't, but because they would have to go through the Niners, or at least the Niners would have to go through themselves first.
Right.
And Kirk Cousins will have to go through his wife. Vice versa.
Yeah, I think vice versa.
Yeah. Let's see. The New York Giants. What do you think, Mike?
I think that's a playoff team. I think the Giants. It's at home for the Raiders, but 2 weeks in a row at home against New York teams. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, normally it's the other way around, right?
Right. Yeah. I can't project wins against either of those teams. Really, I can see it more against the Jets, I think, than the Giants. I think one thing to note that I was kind of thinking about earlier was Josh Jacobs. I think like week 1, if he's holding out, it's an L. If Josh Jacobs isn't playing for the Raiders, these are all mostly losses. The same goes for the Giants. I don't see anybody recreating what Le'Veon Bell did a few years ago, holding out because they got franchise tagged. But, these are 2 teams, the Giants and Raiders, that have franchise tagged running backs that, need to figure that out. But I think as long as Saquon is playing at a high level, and I think the way that the Giants are becoming an up-and-coming team, I would kind of expect the Giants to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've said a few times tonight, crazier things have happened. Like I said, I think the Raiders can be an efficient offense. It's really the defense that's a question for me. I think a lot of these games are winnable, but I just can't come on here and say right now, yeah, I think we win this game, about most of these games.
Yeah, so honestly, I think the Dolphins are I feel like you can almost lock them up to beat the Raiders in Week 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the season will play out differently than what we think right now. But I don't know if you wanted to go in depth, but
I mean, I think week 9 through 11 is a stretch of really fun teams that are up and coming with a lot of potential, especially the Dolphins. And it'll be fun to watch the Raiders lose to all three of them. Now, I mean, knowing the Raiders, they'll pull out a win against one of these teams. I don't know which, or they'll pull out a win against
knowing Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to
win all three
against all of them.
Yeah. No, they're going to go undefeated every time Garoppolo plays, but he's only going to play like six games.
Fuck. Well, you know what? He doesn't have Kyle anymore, so maybe he'll play the whole season.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Kansas City.
Week 12. Week 12 at home against Kansas City. I'd love to beat them just once, but with a team that seems to have gone, you know what? Actually, okay. I'll ask you, do you think the Raiders have gotten worse or better this offseason? Like really looking at it. They got rid of Waller and Carr. I think those are the two major, players that have left.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's skill-wise.
Yeah, 100%.
For what the teams need right now, I think the Raiders need a culture change in their locker room, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an excellent spokesperson, kind of like CEO type of, public speaker, and I think that he's very friendly with his teammates when he's there. When it's outside of football, apparently he's really hard to get a hold of, but maybe he just sort of felt uncomfortable in San Francisco, towards the end. But I heard that he was hard to reach throughout the entire tenure.
Right.
But
I think they needed a change.
I think they needed a change. I think Jimmy Garoppolo for $26 million is better than Derek Carr for what? Is he $40 million?
42. Yeah, I agree.
So the Raiders are saving cap money that they can spend somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think moving on from Darren Waller, I think is a good move. Well, okay, Darren Waller is a great player. That's no debate. He's a great
29. Player. He's not getting younger, but
he's not getting younger, and you're gonna have.
He was injured, often injured.
He had a big contract with the Raiders, didn't he?
His numbers are going to keep.
He was due for one.
He got a solid contract, but the reason why we were able to trade him is because he had almost no guarantees. So we were able to completely get out of the contract when we traded him, and we could have cut the same, I think, outcome.
So for a team that just kind of needs a culture change, it's okay to. I mean, to me, if you're going to rebuild, don't rebuild. I mean, if you're going to rebuild, don't reload. Clean house.
Yeah.
Clean house. Come on. Especially for a team that has been this bad for about 2 decades, you're just you're keeping a little bit of the same DNA. You know, sometimes you just got to you got to really dig in. And I'm sorry, some good players are going to leave, but will Derek Carr be better off without the Raiders? Probably. Will the Raiders be better off without Derek Carr? Maybe not immediately, but long-term, I believe so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same. I got 2 things off of that. Yeah. I was going to say earlier, and I kind of forgot, but, well, for one thing, you mentioned that the Raiders needed a change of leadership and such. I think Derek Carr is a good leader. I just think with the pairing of Josh McDaniels, they needed it, and just the failure of last season, they needed a change, and Derek Carr was the obvious choice. Mm-hmm. And I think getting a guy that's played under McDaniels before is a good decision. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I completely forgot what I was going to say about the other part, but we can keep going. It might come back to me.
Could we speed it up a little bit? Because
absolutely.
I'm starving over here.
No problem. So week 12 probably lost. Week 13 bye. I love a late bye week. Usually the Raiders get screwed and get like a week 7 bye, and it's like they have to power through the end of the season. Week 14 at home against the Vikings. If I'm going to go to a home game, I'd love to go to this game.
That's not a Monday night though.
Yeah, so we probably lose, but I that's the team that, like the Lions.
So that's one where Kirk Cousins will be able to celebrate later that night. So if you're in the general vicinity, just know that guy over there. I mean, I really need a layoff of Kirk Cousins. So that's why I started it. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. That's just like a reoccurring joke now.
Yeah. Well, he went in Vegas, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. He's breaking news. Kirk Cousins out for the season.
Yeah. Breaking news. Kirk Cousins steals the handle off of a slot machine. It's unknown what he's going to do with the handle.
Oh God. Week 15 Thursday Night Football. So it's a short week against the Chargers. It's at home, so they could stay at home 2 weeks in a row after a bye. But I mean, I don't know what the Chargers have the week before that, but I'm probably giving this to the Chargers. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that we split with the Chargers. Probably the Broncos too, but I'd like to keep shutting out the Broncos. But I think every year it's annually like a split with the Chargers and Raiders. So I'd like to win the Thursday night home game, but if it's the week 4, Chargers home game, okay, And then week 16, I forgot to mention this on the Niners schedule, but the Niners play the Seahawks. No, Ravens. The Niners and Ravens game is on Christmas, prime time, 5:20.
It is?
Yeah, that was the other interesting thing about the Niners schedule. It wasn't going to say that, but it was a 5:20 game. I think it's a Sunday night game, or maybe it's a Monday, but we just looked at it and like, oh, cool, primetime home game for the Niners. It's on Christmas. And the Raiders play the Chiefs Christmas morning. There's 3 games that day. Those are 2 of them.
Ooh. It's going to be an excellent Christmas this year.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Losing to the Chiefs on Christmas is not cool. Yeah. Yeah. God. But I thought the Niners getting 2 holiday games was interesting. And the Raiders getting the Chiefs on Christmas is rough. That's not going to be fun. But by that point, I might be a little checked out and, counting the draft picks by then. So, but again,
maybe it will be an excellent Christmas for you, unless Jimmy Garoppolo decides to win another game.
Yeah, you never know. And then, I mean, to end it out, we got Broncos to start and end the season. That's pretty interesting. But week 17 at the Colts, they have the new quarterback, Richardson, right?
Yeah. I hope honestly, give me the Raiders in this game.
I could see it.
I think it's going to be a developmental year for Anthony Richardson. I could see him dropping a few games, and honestly, I think at this point, Josh McDaniels might be fighting for his job. Then again, Mark Davis said he doesn't have money to fire people, so
I think that's an interesting topic because I think Mark Davis. And maybe you're right about the money aspect of it, but I think Mark Davis, for as much shit as he gets, I think that he wants a head coach and general manager tandem to be given the proper amount of time to build their team. Like you were saying about properly rebuilding. That's the thing I was going to say. Last season, they came in thinking, hey, we're coming off a playoff year. We're going to come in here with Derek Carr. He's a great quarterback. We're going to go out there and we're going to win some games with Davante Adams, blah, blah, blah. Didn't happen, okay? Most of the fans look at Josh McDaniels and say, dude, you suck. I think it takes time to properly build a team your way. The fans would have been even more upset if they came in last offseason, don't trade for Davante Adams, trade Derek Carr. It'd be nice to get capital for him, but and just immediately rebuild. It would have felt like John Gruden all over again trading Khalil Mack. That's what all the fans would have thought. So it was nice that they gave him a chance. It didn't work. It's time to rebuild. That's where we're at right now. I agree with you on all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a process. And I think that Mark Davis understands that. I think Mark Davis is looking at it in the long haul, and he's thinking, I want to build the proper winner, and we need the quarterback that's going to make that. It's going to make the difference. That's what they need. I think this year it's going to be a let's see how high we can get in the draft type of year. And I think I could see them trading up similar to the Niners for Trey Lance for a top tier quarterback in next year's draft. And hopefully this year, the main thing to take away from this season is that our defense develops. If our defense can develop and our offense is surrounding the quarterback very well, I think that next season, 2024, I think that can be when the promising, things start to happen with a rookie quarterback, top 5 pick. Excuse me. I think that's the way it's looking for the Raiders. Week 17, sure, we can win. Week 18 at home, I'd like to win, but also if we're in the hunt for a top 3 pick, give me the L.
Hey,
I don't care.
Hot take right now. This probably might not happen, but this is a possibility. Jimmy Garoppolo at some point during the season gets hurt. Aiden O'Connell comes in, and he just brings a new energy into this building like they haven't seen. And the Raiders start winning some games and maybe squeak in as a wild card team. I'm not ruling that out.
Yeah, I will say also one thing. I do want to touch on that Aiden O'Connell thought. I don't want it to sound like I want the Raiders to lose. I want the Raiders to lose when we have no hope. But week 1, week 2, week 3, I want them to win. It's always just win, baby. But once it's clear that that's not happening, it's a matter of what our future is. If we go out there and we go 7-9 or whatever it would be, and we can't, without giving up way too much capital, go up and get the quarterback that will change this franchise for the next 12 years, it's not worth it to win those games this year. I'm sorry. I would rather win 3 games like the Bears, earn the first pick. I mean, the Bears had Justin Fields. They decided to go with him. But they could have easily said, Bryce Young's our guy. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's roll, And it might prove to be smart. It might prove to be dumb. But next year's draft is supposed to be the big quarterback draft. So, yeah. But the other thing I was going to say about you mentioning Aiden O'Connell, the biggest thing I kept hearing from all the experts and media about this previous draft that just happened was, hey, who's going to be the next Brock Purdy? You never know. Maybe the next Brock Purdy doesn't come for the next 3-4 years, or ever. But you never know. Maybe it is Aiden O'Connell. I'd like to think that maybe if this season's a wash, and you get to these last 2 weeks, maybe even the last 3 weeks, where it's like maybe Garoppolo's hurt, or okay, we're clearly not in the running for anything. Let's see what Aiden O'Connell has. Just strut him out there. Probably lose the games, but get him some play time just to see how he plays. Kind of similar to the guy, the backup from this year that played the Niners. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name.
Stidham,
thank you. Stidham. But, and maybe. Yes. But, you can strut out Aiden O'Connell, get him some play time, see how he plays. In the meantime, lose those games and get higher draft picks maybe. Or, like you said, maybe things just go right for the team and they actually become a wild card team this year. You never know. But I think if the Raiders are in the running for if they have a shot for a top 3 pick, yeah, you know what I'm rooting for.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what we say or what we predict, because it's going to play out much differently than what we all expect.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the beauty of football. That's what I really love, is just seeing it all unfold.
Yeah. And the beauty of our friendship is being able to talk football for almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
It feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah, man. Well, it's starting to drag on for me a little bit because I still haven't eaten dinner. And it's like 9 o'clock now. No, it's all good. So did you already talk about week 18?
Yeah. Yeah, briefly. It's fine. Hopefully we win, but also if we're in the running, hopefully we lose. So
All right. So the I guess we're sort of at the end here.
yeah,
I think this has been definitely, a great experience so far.
yeah. One take wonder.
Yeah, we did it in one take. I mean,
Yeah.
it took a little bit to get to this one take, but
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
I think that we'll probably feel more comfortable as the streams go on, and hopefully YouTube. I hope you're hearing this. I hope you stop messing around because I wanted to go live today. But it's a good thing that you didn't let us go live today because we needed a little bit of time to adjust. So we had to do a recording. We're going to split this up into little clips. And, I'm really happy with the way this has turned out. Hopefully all the stuff that we've talked about wasn't too long to be posted into each individual like YouTube videos. I hope there's not like a 15-minute max, or else I'm going to have to, split this up into like different parts in order for people to watch it. And like, but I think as like a first experience, this is great. We introduced ourselves. We went over sort of how we feel about the teams, and we're probably going to talk about it a lot,
Yeah.
And I think what people can sort of expect also from this channel is not only just like a podcast format, like what we did today, but also I want to have creative liberty to also post other types of videos, like maybe it's just me holding up my phone, like, to my face and like reacting to something that happens. Maybe it doesn't have to be like a long 2-hour stream or 1-hour stream or anything like that. But
I would like to say we'll probably create a Twitter profile, and we're going to have a YouTube account for this, for the silver and gold. So,
well, yeah, that's how they're going to be watching this right now.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Just got to shout it out.
Yeah. Twitter profile, maybe. I don't know if we're going to do that because, as you can see right here, our Twitter names are right here. So give us a follow. I'm at JCK510. A lot of people think that my name is Jack, like in the 49er community. It's not. It's Josh. But, those are just my initials. And then follow mforrester9. It's listed right here. And then please do us a favor. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed any of the videos today. This is just going to be wrapped up in maybe a conclusion video. I don't even know if I'm going to post this.
Right.
I would like to, but
yeah, I'd like to say
maybe I might add this to the end of the instant reaction, to the roster.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would just like to say, this is our literal first episode. This is our first time ever podcasting or anything. So any views we get, we appreciate, and any subscriptions, likes, whatever, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you like football and you're American and you think you're an alpha male, you better like and subscribe.
Especially
or if you're an alpha, or if you're an alpha female or an alpha other, you better like and subscribe.
Damn right. And if you like to buy Ford F-150s. No. If you are a 49er or Raider fan, you are welcome on in.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say is I'm hoping that with this channel, there's a lot of hostility between the 49ers and the Raiders, but many of us come from the Bay Area. It's fun to have a rivalry with one another. It's like I think of it as like a friendly rivalry. I don't really hate any Raider fan friends that I have. Obviously not if they're friends, but it's kind of cool. This is just a cool idea to try and maybe get the fan bases together and maybe watch a channel. And if you click on this, just please try to have an open mind when we're talking about the other team. Maybe you can get to learn something because there's a lot of great history with both of these franchises.
100%.
Yeah. So I think with that, I bid you guys farewell. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much, guys.